This is an RNZ podcast.
Neira, te reo pōwhiri o te reo tātaki, tēnā koutou katoa, I'm Izzy, and this week's news is coming at you fast, so I hope you're paying attention. In world news, torrential rains and flooding in Pakistan have killed more than 1,000 people, including 380 children. Unusually heavy monsoon rains have affected 33 million people, destroying homes, businesses and crops. The government says more than a third of the country has been completely submerged and global climate change is to blame. The United Nations has appealed for $260 million in aid. Who's a fan of going to the dentist? Not me. Well, now there could be less to worry about. Researchers at Otago University and AUT created a needle-free way of anaesthetising patients who need teeth extractions. It is driven by a silent motor and is specifically designed for dental work. Professor Paul Brunton, who carried out a trial of the device, says fear of needles is a significant barrier to people going to the dentist. The top 5 finalists for the 2022 APRA Silver Scrolls have just been announced. The Silver Scroll Award is considered the most desired prize in New Zealand music, celebrating the art of songwriting. Te Taira Whiti Kwaia Ka Hao and Rob Ruha's Feel Good Waiata 35 makes the list. Tammy Nielsen is a contender with Beyond the Stars, featuring country music legend Willie Nelson. Marlon Williams is the 3rd finalist for his latest hit, My Boy. Christchurch-based 4-piece indie pop band There's a Tuesday land in this year's top 5 with Girl at Night. And Troy Kingi returns to the Silver Scrolls for the 2nd year running with He Orite. The winner will be announced in October. So many amazing artists that would have been so difficult to judge. And it's off to the moon as NASA aims to make a 2nd attempt this weekend to launch its new rocket, Artemis. Blastoff was called off on Monday because of an engine fault. If it goes ahead, the 32-storey tall rocket will send its Orion capsule on an uncrewed 6-week test flight around the moon and back to Earth. The space program is testing their technology before it puts people back on the moon for the first time in 50 years. It is also the first step in getting the first people to Mars. TV and movie streaming service Netflix is celebrating its 25th birthday this week. It began by sending DVDs by mail and started streaming in 2007. Bet you didn't know Netflix has been around for that long. It really took off in the last 10 years with faster internet speeds, and the word binge watch was only added to dictionaries 5 years ago. Talking names, the original name for Netflix was Kibble. Yes, like the dog food. Boxing New Zealand has announced plans for transgender athletes to compete in an open category for Olympic-style competition. The category will open due to increased concerns around athlete safety and the need for more inclusion in the sport. The open class will include a person born female who identifies as male, a person born male who identifies as female but transitions before puberty, and people who do not qualify for either the male or the female categories. NZ Boxing has released research saying males have on average 160% more punching force than females. They, them, she, her, he, him, viver. You may have heard some of these pronouns, of which there are over 70 and counting. Today's explainer breaks down what pronouns are and the importance of getting someone's pronouns right. Listen up.
Ah, the beautiful rainbow. The wide, the wondrous, the fabulous world of gender and pronouns. Let's start by getting a little bit technical. What is the difference between a person's sex and their gender?
A person's sex is assigned by the doctor at birth based on their external reproductive organs. These are used to categorise a person's body as male or female. Gender describes a person's sense and knowledge of who they are. This includes how a person identifies and how they express themselves.
Aha, so a person's gender can be the same as their sex, but it can also be different. What this means is that your physical makeup does not decide your gender identity. So what does? Well, you do. Gender binary is the idea that there are only two genders, man or woman. Some people identify as a boy or a man, others identify as a girl or a woman, and there are gender diverse people who don't identify with either of these categories.
Non-binary is the broad term used for people who don't identify as boy-man or girl-woman. There are also many other terms that people use, like transgender or trans is a broad term that describes people whose gender is different from their sex assigned at birth, or agender is a term for those with no gender.
Gender diversity has existed throughout history and across cultures. And there are loads of other wonderful gender identities to explore. Non-binary, gender fluid, takatapui, irawhiti and irakore.
Trans and gender diverse people have faced challenges of acceptance in society, but one way we can encourage acceptance is by recognising a person's pronouns.
A pronoun is a word that we use to refer to someone when we're not using their name.
The most commonly used pronouns in English are he, him and she, her. These pronouns can refer to anyone who identifies with these terms, but there are lots more gender-neutral terms. One you may have heard of is they, them. So why are pronouns important? They're important because a person's allocated sex does not necessarily match their gender. When someone is addressed in a way that does not reflect their self-determined gender, it can cause them to feel uncomfortable and misunderstood. But getting their pronoun right can make them feel seen and respected.
And that's why learning and using someone's pronouns is an important thing to do.
If you feel comfortable, you could share your pronouns. That might encourage others to share theirs. Once you know someone's pronouns, remember to use them.
Making an effort shows your care and respect for everyone's right to be themselves. And however you identify or express yourself, you will always be awesome to me.
I'm Evie York, and this episode was made by TVNZ and RNZ and is public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On Air. You or your parents can follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, or just about any podcast app. Plus, you can watch News to Me on TV2 on Friday afternoons, catch it on demand, or listen to it just before the 7 o'clock news on Saturday mornings on RNZ National.